Hello, WWE wrestling fans. Welcome to my very first pro wrestling video podcast. I'm your host, the legendary Alex Cardinale. I'm very excited to be hosting my first pro wrestling video podcast. Now, obviously, last month I did a SummerSlam pre show, but I'm looking forward to doing more wrestling video podcasts with this new series called Pro Wrestling 101. And today I'm going to be doing my very first pro wrestling interview. I'm going to be interviewing a fellow wrestling fan who grew up in the 80s and 90s. So, with that being said, please join me in welcoming my special guest, Jeremy Stellhorn. Jeremy, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for today's interview. I like having the opportunity to talk about wrestling.
I do as well.
Awesome. So, how did you get into wrestling?
Well, my uncle started taking me to matches as a kid, but even my grandma and my great grandma were big into wrestling at the Chase, being from St. Louis area. So it's kind of a family event, if you would say, from back in the day.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. It was kind of like a family event for me too because my dad was a big wrestling fan growing up and I used to watch it as a kid and I just got into it and I started liking it. So back in my day, it was WWF and WCW, but you had WWF, WWF, and WCW.
Yeah, we had a few of the territories, and then as I got older, it was WWF. And then WCW, I enjoyed some of it. So, yeah, a little bit of background on a few places.
So back when you first started, was wrestling as popular as it is today?
It was the Hulk Hogan era, so yeah, probably more so than today, but not as big as it was in the 2000s or not late 90s.
Yeah, I think that was like the peak of wrestling when Hulk Hogan started it, and then it just got bigger from there.
Yeah, everybody was a little Hulkamaniac at the time. We all took our little Hulkamaniac vitamins and all the other good stuff. Pasta Mania. No, I never went there, but that was his restaurant that he opened up.
Nice. So, who are your favorite superstars?
My favorite wrestlers are, of course, the Hogan, and I loved the Warrior at the time. Nick Bockwinkel. The Rock was always a favorite. I liked the group Too Cool, but so there are many that have kind of gone through the years at different times. I enjoyed Sting. I know you're a Stinger, but I'm a Surfer Sting, and you're a Crow Sting, so kind of who was
Nice.
pushed.
Yeah.
And then I enjoyed Benoit. I mean, I know it's probably taboo to talk about, but I enjoyed his matches and stuff like that. He was good at the craft. It's just unfortunately whatever happened, being brain injury or whatever it was, kind of ruined his legacy.
Yeah, I was a huge Chris Benoit fan as a kid, but then when he did those horrific actions, I became a Shawn Michaels fan. But one of my all-time favorites as a kid was Sting. I liked The Undertaker, Kane, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels. But one of my all-time favorites from all throughout the eras is Sergeant Slaughter.
I remember that, you little maggot.
He
Yep,
can work as a
Slaughter
good
was.
guy and a bad guy.
Yep, Slaughter. I had his little GI Joe doll. My grandma used to make fun of me for carrying a doll, and I kept telling her it was an action figure or a toy, but no, it was a doll according to grandma. So me and my little doll went all over the place with me.
Yeah, I have to say that I think he's the best heel that wrestling has ever had, Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, it was huge when he turned against America, but we had Hulk to bring it back.
I just like how he goes around insulting people. You puke, you scum, you slime, you maggot.
And he was great in the
I don't know.
territory too. If you got a chance to watch him.
Yeah, I watched some of his older matches, and he was awesome in them.
There's a legendary match, wasn't it? Him and Jay Strongbow in the WWF in the '80s. That was kind of everybody's go-to match. It was one of the best matches.
Yeah, I saw that match. One of my favorite matches is him and Hogan at WrestleMania 7.
Yep.
Sergeant Slaughter versus the Immortal Slime.
Yes, he did give good promos. And then I always liked when they had him working out. They'd always have like the little vignettes of him getting ready for whatever. He'd be doing his military workouts and stuff. I enjoyed those when I was a kid. We'd do push-ups and stuff outside pretending to be him.
Yeah, I don't know how his gimmick would work today. People would probably be offended.
There were a lot of people even mad here recently because he was pretending to be a soldier when he really wasn't. So it's crazy how it all goes. I guess they booked him for an event as Sergeant Slaughter, and then somebody found out that he was never in the military, so they were like super upset about it. So that's the world we live in.
A bunch of pansies. So were you around? Were you watching wrestling when Muhammad Hassan was around?
I was not. That was right before the one in right before it happened in England, right? They had that in England and they took him out.
Yeah. That was such a shame because I think he is the best heel, but he got taken away.
Yeah. I think he still wrestles, actually. I know I've seen some things on him lately that he's recently been in the ring. But yeah, he probably won't be making his turn to WWE anytime soon.
Nice. So as a wrestling fan, did you favor the good guys or the bad guys?
Mostly I went for the baby faces. Towards the end, I went for the heels. I know that a lot of the wrestlers are crawling because I use those terms, but most of the time I was for the good guys. But then over time, you kind of appreciate what the heels are doing, kind of as you learn the sport a little bit.
Yeah, I have some wrestlers that I like as good guys, like Sting, but mostly I favor the heels. I think Sergeant Slaughter is good as a heel. Shawn Michaels is better as a heel, and I like Triple H as a heel.
See, they've always been able to make me feel what they want me to feel. Like, I've always had a hatred for Shawn Michaels ever since he broke the rockers up and threw Marty through the glass. Ever since that I was done with him, I just could not stand him. Same with Brother Love, my dad, and Jim Cornette. Like, I remember watching my dad hated him, and so Dad would be all like, stupid whatevers and da-da-da over at the TV. So, I mean, we always hated the right people, you know what I mean? They were always able to enact a response. So I do enjoy the heels in that aspect, but like when you get into the actual watching of it, like when we were buying the WWF pay-per-views and Triple H won every pay-per-view, like you'd pay to see him beat the Rock kick his ass or Austin kick his ass, and it was every time he won by interference or you know what I mean, and then use a sledgehammer, just something. Every time he would lose, I think it was like 7 pay-per-views or 10 pay-per-views in a row that he won. Like all those, like you would think that he would be beat, and then all of a sudden something would happen. Oh my God, we got to the point we didn't even want to spend the money to watch him win. So I mean, now I look back at it and I know that it was great work, but
yeah, growing up, it seemed like Triple H won almost every single match and feud that he was in. Like he had to beat Booker T, he had to beat Sting, he beat all the WCW guys.
Yeah, we figured unfortunately that would happen. Like, even when you listen to like the guys talk about when they came over after the invasion, it was supposed to be, but they had separate locker rooms. Like it was the WWF locker room and the other guy's locker room. So they said that it was pretty much hostile to him even when they came in. So I figured Sting stayed away for so long, and I kind of like that, so that WWF couldn't say that they did him over. But then he came in and they did him over. And everybody that came in kind of got buried, except for Booker was entertaining enough to Vince. I guess he got to stay. Which Booker was great. I loved Booker T when he was Harlem Heat. And then he was entertaining as the singles wrestler, even when he did like the King Booker and walked around with the British accent and stuff. I enjoyed that. So he's always been a great entertainer.
I definitely agree with you on that. So what are some of your favorite all-time matches?
So many with The Rock and Triple H. I loved when Chris Benoit won the title. There's just so many, like Hogan and Warrior was like life-changing for us as a kid. You know what I mean? Because you got the new guy that came in, and then now you kind of look at what you saw back then. You're like, what the heck? But that was so exciting, or when it was Hogan versus Macho Man, when the Macho Powers broke up. I remember watching that pay-per-view. My uncle went to one of his friends' house who rented it, and we sat down and watched that. And I remember watching that, and so there's so many great matches, but those are some of my favorites. I tell you what, they're in line with Triple H beat everybody all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think he should have lost some more matches.
Oh, I was so mad.
Some of my favorite matches are Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. That was a classic. And then I also like Sting versus Triple H at WrestleMania 31.
So what are your thoughts on Lashley now?
Oh, Bobby Lashley. I think he's kind of boring, but I'm glad that he has a championship, so that he can say that his latest WWE run was successful. But not a huge fan of Bobby Lashley.
See, I find him entertaining. I enjoy his work. I like that big guy, strongman style.
Yeah, a lot of wrestling fans love him. He's pretty good. He does a good job as a heel. He's one of the best heels out there.
Yeah. So what do you think of MJF? AEW, another top heel?
Another top heel. He's really good. He's one of my favorite AEW superstars.
They say that he's one of the biggest assholes around, so that it's really not so much of an act.
Yeah, I can tell he looks like an asshole.
Do you know who started the whole scarf routine where the heels are wearing scarves?
No.
Vince McMahon told Jericho, because Jericho was going to be a heel for something, and he told him, wear a scarf. Everybody hates people in a scarf. And it ended up working really good, so Jericho's been passing it off. So now you'll see, like, whenever they have a lot of the heels come to the ring, especially in AEW, they all have scarves on. So Vince McMahon passed his knowledge on to the other company with going through Jericho. But I guess it works. People hate scarves, I guess.
It's true. Yeah, Vince McMahon's a genius when it comes to getting people angry.
Yeah, Vince McMahon was great at what he did. Yes, he has had some he's done some major things in the business.
That's why I laugh when people say he's going to fail and WWE is going to go down and AEW will beat WWE. I don't see it happening. I think Vince knows what he's doing and WWE is going to be around forever.
I think that their business got a little bit too big and there's not as much room between him and the younger people. Like you look at all those territories that happened before and stuff like that. I'm not saying the WWE is going to lose out right away or ever, but I'm just saying that I think that there will be a change in the power structure a little bit more, like they'll be able to feel AEW a little. But as of right now, I think their talent is a little greener and their booking's a little green. So other than throwing out, some exciting matches or interesting matches and stuff, but I do think that they have the production value and stuff like that. I don't get letting everybody go in the WWF right now. You know, the way they're setting up their, you know, business, sometimes I wonder if they're cutting money to get rid of the business or to make some other kind of deal, because they've cut tons of money out of it. Now they're even supposedly cutting catering back, it sounds, and they're $1 billion company. So why are you dumping all the money and all of your athletes to go somewhere else? So I do think there's something up.
That's a good point. So what are your thoughts on AEW? Have you been watching AEW?
I am a clip watcher more than I watch the whole show. I kind of listen to it. It's one of those that you kind of want to see it succeed, and they're getting some better stars in there, so some of the stuff is getting better. But then there's some that I don't get. I don't know much about Lucha, but like the Young Bucks match, I really wasn't too big of a fan of. I know a lot of people loved it as wrestling fans, but it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. So it's just one of those things that I thought it was a little bit too hokey and phony, and it left wrestling behind and turned into more of a adventure show. We'll put it that way. Clown porn, something like that. I don't know.
Club porn.
So that one, like the missed kicks where they both would end up kicking, you know, and hurting their feet, and you know, like I'm more used to the Arn and the Tully cage matches, or you know, the Midnight and the rock and roll matches, you know, different cage matches than I am to that style. I'm used to the older rules of wrestling. Like AEW is good if you can forget that they have rules. If it's an entertainment video, some of it is entertainment, then I think that's more of what you're getting, is you're getting wrestling entertainment, where, you know, I was more into that era where you could hold an arm, you know, an arm lock or whatever for a while. And I know the world changes and everything's faster now, but the old saying in wrestling was, is go as slow as you can and then slow down some more. So, you know, so some of that is a little faster pace where people I don't think get to actually see and react to all the little subtleties of the matches that they're doing.
That's true. I've watched a little bit of AEW. I like some of the stuff that I've seen, but some of the other stuff I had to change. I'm not a big fan of some of the skits they were doing. Like one of the matches I seen, I remember seeing Sting and Orange Cassidy playing with each other's shoes.
Yeah. Yeah, the little kicks and stuff. And like Orange Cassidy, like the first time you see it, it's amazing to see him be able to do that stuff with his hands in his pockets. But then you're also like, why the hell don't somebody just punch him in the head and be done with it? You know what I mean? So like once a year, I could probably handle watching him. But that's kind of, oops, I lost you. But that's kind of where I'm at on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're back.
I
can
could do
hear you
without some
fine.
of his. But then could you hear me before?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one's kind of out. But then I'm kind of bad because like interest wise, like I find Danhausen very, very interesting. I know I said some of his clips and stuff like that. And he's actually a fairly good wrestler before, and then he's got his gimmick. But it's one of those times. So I don't know. It's one of those things. I love him, but I can't do the Orange Cassidy thing. I can't do like what is that, Luchasaurus? Like I would rather actually see him be a pro wrestler than a dinosaur kind of thing. So I'm not so hot onto that gimmick. I think the guy's a giant, and if he had some more training, he'd be great or good. But I don't know. You just hard to take a guy with a green tongue that he keeps sticking out at you seriously, you know?
Yeah, AEW does have some good talent, like Sammy Guevara, Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho. Now they got Big Show, Mark Henry, and CM Punk.
Yes. They do have some good talent, and they bring in a lot of the guys you don't know, so they're actually farming new talent, which I really enjoy, that they're actually using people who love wrestling. Even if they need a little bit more work, they are farming out some of the new wrestlers, so it's not you know what I mean? You do get a different variety. It's not all the same cut guys, so I kind of like that.
Nice. So, do you prefer WWE or AEW?
I would like AEW to have a place against Vince, but like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of either. I'm more clips and kind of keep up with what I want to watch. I think WWE is a much better production wise, and I think that they have much better talent, but I also kind of wonder why they let so much of their good talent go when they had great producers behind the stages and stuff. I think sometimes they make change just for change's sake. Where AEW, I think, is a little more wrestler friendly and based, and it looks like all those guys are having a great time. So I don't really like either better. I kind of keep an eye on both, I guess is what I would say. Like traditionally, I loved WWF in like the 2000s. Early 2000s before they did the whole Katie Vick thing. That's kind of when I stopped watching wrestling. But like the Kane and Undertaker, the Brothers of Destruction, and Stone Cold, and some of the other stuff. I really enjoyed that era. Some of the wrestlers, like I'm a big Dean Malenko fan, so I kind of like those when they did the cruiserweights in WCW because it was different and it was interesting to see the matches. Stuff like that. So I mean, I'm just kind of more of a fan in general, and then an enjoyer of what comes up that I enjoy.
That's cool. I watch mostly WWE, mostly SmackDown because SmackDown's on Fox and SmackDown is doing a great job. Raw is kind of shitty now, but sometimes I do watch AEW. I like watching Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara and some of the other superstars. So I like to say I watch both, but mainly I watch SmackDown and the pay-per-views.
Yeah. I haven't done a pay-per-view. I always wait till afterwards and see what pops up on YouTube. I haven't bought a pay-per-view and I think the last pay-per-view I bought was like um when Triple H beat either Rock or Austin in one of the matches that he did with a hammer, and I was just done. I don't think I fought one since. Back
Wow, the
then, it
Raw
was the ones you had
WWE.
to order. It wasn't like today where it was expensive, and so a group of us would all get together and chip in a bunch of money and order it. And sometimes some of us didn't have it, so I would pay extra, or pay for it just so everybody could get together and have a good time, and we enjoyed it. But I just remember being like, "Why am I paying this money? I know it's going to happen every month."
Yeah, that's the one advantage WWE has over AEW is they have the WWE Network on Peacock now. So if you have Comcast, you get Peacock for free, and you get all the pay-per-views for free.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing the network that WWF has set up around the world, and they have like the largest wrestling library ever. They have like so much stuff in the back. So I mean, it's amazing. Part of me kind of wishes they'd get back into some more of the less writers, more of the old wrestlers getting together and writing it out, or having a booker instead of turning it into. They're a great entertainment, but they don't even call themselves wrestlers anymore. They're superstars or entertainment. I kind of wish they'd get back into a little bit of the wrestling, but I know that the world has changed, and with it being outside, it's they have stocks and stuff, so then they have their stockholders and sponsors and everything to keep happy. So I know it's kind of a change, but I do kind of miss some of that where it was actually get down and dirty and not 30 minutes of talking crap or whatever they do in the beginning of the show and in the middle of the show. And, like I could deal with shorter promos, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's true. I agree with you on that. So, have you ever attended a live wrestling event?
I've attended quite a few when I was younger. We would go in the early '80s into the Checker Dome in St. Louis and watch mostly WWF. I remember being a kid, you know, like you had some, but WWF always seemed to be the biggest and the brightest. So I remember we watched mostly WWF, and then I think I did one WCW show, and then I've done some independent shows that we have, small independent groups up here. How about yourself? Which ones have you attended?
I went to a couple of WWE house shows when I lived in Massachusetts. I've never been to like a live Monday Night Raw or a live SmackDown or a pay-per-view, but I definitely want to go to a WrestleMania and a live SmackDown, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, and you're lucky you ended up having the pandemic WrestleMania when it was in Tampa Bay.
I know it happened this year in Tampa, though.
Yeah, I know. Oh, so did they allow fans or not this
They
year?
did this year. They did
Oh, did
this
they?
year.
So
They
this
did.
year was in Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know you were looking forward to it as soon as you moved down there. You're like, oh man, this is it. Yeah, I haven't been to
I
any
think
of the bigger shows lately. Like we watched some really good shows in the old days when they would come to St. Louis. St. Louis is kind of a wrestling town. Like into the early '80s, I guess Vince kind of bought it into the office, and then he took over. So, and we always had some really great shows in St. Louis when they came through. I mean, that's when Kane came in and broke the door off and all kinds of good stuff like that. Kane's been one of my favorites. Just so many cool things, I mean, so I've been blessed in an area that's kind of wrestling happy, or they enjoy their wrestling. The guy who just won the NWA championship, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he's actually from the area too.
nice. I think it's Trevor Murdoch.
Yes, that's it. I got that brain fart going right now.
He was an ex-WWE Tag Team Champion.
Yeah.
Randy Orton is also from St. Louis.
That he is. Him and what's his name? The guy from King of Queens went to school together over at Fox, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, Bob Orton actually was selling cars, and he has a wrestling school over here. His dad.
Nice.
Yeah, I met his dad a couple times. I got to shake his hand. I never met Randy. But yeah, his dad does a lot of the shows here, and then the shows that he's trains the guys for, a lot of times they have WWF legends or whatever you want to call them. Some of the great ones from the '80s and '90s come and kind of work with the kids or do a match with some of the guys and stuff like that. So it's always neat to see some of the tributes and stuff like that they do.
That's cool. Yeah, Kane is a great wrestler. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
I know. I watched the speech. I love when he's like, I'm just waiting for Vince to be like, you fucked it all up. So I guess he's heard that a few times in his matches.
Yeah, Kane is one of my favorites. I think he should have had the championship more often, though.
I agree, but I think he's one of those, as they say, that don't need a belt. They call the belt a prop. I know Conrad Thompson goes nuts when JR said it, and Bruce said it, but it's one of those things that I think that he was probably over enough that he really didn't need the belt. I would have loved to see him have it. And then I think he's just one of those solid glue guys that they kind of use to get other people over. Like, he's great in that aspect, that he's so good that he can do whatever with whoever, and then, protect him and get him over and be able to be intimidating and strong enough, but then be able to sell it. But I hated towards the end of his career, where it was basically they beat him all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Undertaker's another favorite of mine. He retired last year, so hopefully he'll have one more match before he retires for good.
It was insane. He was one of the coolest when I was growing up. I remember his first match, and he was coming out, and like you could just tell people were terrified of him. It was insane because I just remember being with my buddy Matt and be like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" Because you had no idea what was. We didn't read the magazines or anything, so you had no idea what was coming up. And then I think it was shortly after that, or around that time, that they brought the whatever that little turkey thing was. What was it? The gobbledygooker?
Something like that.
Because I know that was the talk in some of the magazines. He did an interview, and he said that he was worried that he would have him hatching out of an egg to be the gobbledygooker. So he was pretty nervous about when he was starting with WWF.
Yeah, he has the best gimmick, I think. I think Undertaker has the best gimmick in all professional wrestling.
They definitely protected it, and he definitely was able to change it around and do a lot with it. Yeah. He definitely had, it was definitely well protected and well taken care of.
Yeah, that's why I kind of want to see Undertaker have like a match in front of fans before he goes off into the sunset. It's a shame that his last match was a cinematic match.
Is his body up to it nowadays?
I don't know.
He's kind of, he used to always be so kayfabe where he always protected his character, and now he's kind of out doing all these interviews and stuff now that he's done. So part of me thinks that he's done because that's, he always protected it so long and kept it under cuff. Now he's able to go out and be him again. And now I kind of think he's done, but you never know.
You never know. Vince McMahon always throws around high money, and he always accepts most of the time.
Yeah. Well, do you blame him?
No, I don't blame him at all.
I remember seeing him as Mean Mark Callis in WCW, I think it was. And then there's an old video go out there of him and Stone Cold Steve Austin having a match in Memphis, which is really good.
Nice. So what would you say is your favorite Undertaker match?
Oh, I have to think about that one. Offhand, I liked him more in the tag team group of it, but like their biggest thing was when he fought the Wyatts. I think that was the coolest thing I had seen because I wasn't watching any wrestling whatsoever, and that brought me back to being interested in it because the Wyatts were so creepy and so different, and then you added that with the mystique of the Undertaker, and then you brought Kane in. So it was really those were actually some of my favorite matches. But I mean, there's so many over the years and stuff like that. Like I know I actually enjoyed a few of the Yokozuna matches with him. And then, Big Boss Man and him was actually pretty good. So, I mean, there's a lot of those older style ones like that. I don't know a lot of his newer ones, I guess I could say.
Yeah, I like Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. I thought they had a great series of matches. Also, Undertaker versus Triple H. And
that one was a good one. I remember some of those. I hate how they use DDP in the thing, but I thought him and DDP would actually be a little better of a match.
That's true. I also like Undertaker versus Yokozuna too.
Yeah, that was probably one of those that impressed me as much as it did as a kid because just the size of Yokozuna and how, it was an unmovable object, and for him to be able to do what he did. What do you think of him and Foley on the cage?
Oh, that was a crazy moment. It's one of my favorite wrestling moments.
That was almost too brutal. I was out on that one. I'm like, they're gonna kill that guy. He's nuts.
Mick Foley's crazy.
He was. I remember watching some of his stuff before when he was Cactus Jack, and then I forget what he was calling himself. Maybe it was Cactus Jack when him and Funk were working together, and that was insane. It's bad when Terry Funk's. It's bad when Terry Funk's telling you to calm down.
Yeah,
Mick Foley, like, go ahead.
Poor Foley has a damaged body now.
Yeah, probably brain too from all those hits and stuff like that. Like I remember seeing Rock hit him in the head all those times with that chair, and I'm like, oh my God. He was great, though. You really got to admit that he really was great. He did give everything he had for the wrestling business. And he
That's
was somebody
true.
different.
Definitely.
He wasn't the WWE cutout.
That's why Vince was reluctant to sign him at first, but I guess Jim Ross convinced him to sign Mick Foley, and he did, and he became a huge star in WWE.
I think this personality won Vince over. And then I think he just kind of pushed the envelope a little bit. So where are you at on Bret Hart? Great or a crab ass? Or both?
I think he's okay. I think he's a little bit overrated, and he's a huge egomaniac.
I admitted to the egomaniac. We used to love, like, I thought they were weird, but we used to love watching him wrestle in the early days, you know, when it was the Hart Foundation and stuff. And he was a very great wrestler. I just think he got he got almost to the point where he was too much into his own hype, I guess you would say. But yeah, like I always enjoyed his work and stuff, and he was amazing. And then it's just like whatever happened to WWF and then or WWE, I don't know when they changed it offhand. But and then he went to WCW, and it's just like they didn't do anything with him.
Yeah, I think the Montreal screw job, most of the blame goes to him because he didn't do what's right for the business and dropped the title to Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, for the whole situation, it was, but I mean, have you ever had that person that's just a pain in your ass? And Shawn Michaels was a horrible person at that time to deal with. He was an asshole. So, like, he may have been a good wrestler, but everybody, if you ever listened to them talk about him backstage at the time, he was always causing drama. He was throwing temper tantrums. He was, you know, saying stuff about Bret Hart cheating on his wife and stuff like that, and then getting back to her from the kids at school. And so, I mean, I can see not wanting to lose to him. I don't know the best way to do it. I think it's ridiculous, but I really think they should have just had another person in between there lose. But I know Vince wanted to put him down before he sent him off, which he really did get screwed with his 10-year contract. Then they changed their mind. Then you got to lose to the guy you hate. And then, you know, you say, oh, yeah, we're going to do it this way. And then they screw him over again. So,
yeah, that's true. I know a guy that was like Shawn Michaels in the 90s.
Do what?
I know a guy who was like Shawn Michaels in the 90s.
Yeah, you do. So it's kind of sad to see, you know, how great he was and to where he is now, where he's got a beef against everybody, and maybe that's just how he stays relevant, you know. But it's just really sad to see where he is now as a guy who's just angry at the world, where he had the whole world in his hands. There was nothing better than like the British Bulldog versus the Hearts or whatever, you know, different kind of matches they were in. They were always great tag team wrestlers.
Nice.
So, what are your thoughts on Owen not being in the Hall of Fame?
I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame wholeheartedly. He was a great wrestler, and it's a shame what happened to him. I don't think he should have done the blue blazer gimmick, but he did whatever Vince asked, which I really respect. But I think his death was very, very tragic and very sad.
Yes. Do you think they did the right thing by having the show afterwards, or you think they should have ended it and just made it a memorial night?
I don't know. I don't know. I know like Vince has the mantra, the show must always go on. So
yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that or not.
Because if you cancel, you got to get their money back.
True, true. He always has the mantra: "The show must go on." He was the first. He was the first like full venue after 9/11, like a day after 9/11.
Yep.
So I have to give him credit for that. And he wanted to stick around through the pandemic, and he was still able to have arena shows, although fans were online instead of in person.
That is true.
But I do understand the backlash he gets from Owen Hart's staff. But yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame. I think hopefully in the future he will be, but it's his wife that is preventing it.
Yeah, but too is I don't know if they really want to bring that forward as people remember that he died in the ring. You know what I mean?
True, true.
I know his wife is very upset with it, and I know that's part of the WWF Hart family feud kind of thing. I get Brett came back, and then I don't know if he still badmouths WWF or if he's over it now. They say everybody kind of makes up with Vince in the end, so.
That's true. Ultimate Warrior did. He got inducted into Hall of Fame, and then he appeared on Raw, and then he died the next night.
Yeah, I remember that. It was good to see him back, but then so much as they buried him with the burial and some of the stuff, and I know it's another one where he probably did most of it himself as well, but now Jeff Jarrett's back.
I always wonder if he knew he was dying. That's why he decided to mend fences and come back.
I kind of don't know. Like, he may have known, but you think that would be one reason, just his last glory to go out? Or if you
Maybe,
spend your whole last 20 years bad mouthing a company and talking about him being the evil corporation and kind of where his head was, do you go back and take an award as your sellout?
I don't know. It's a good point.
I mean, they did. They brought his wife on one of their things. I guess she still works there.
Yeah,
I mean, they kind of took care of the family, so maybe it was one, but it's one of those things that you never know what the motivation is.
true. So, which wrestling deaths hit you the hardest?
The wrestling deaths.
Yeah,
Um, Honestly, though, it's almost kind of like a Hollywood actor situation because I don't have up close and personal. But the Daphne one is somebody that's close to my age, and the way she did it kind of was one of those that kind of was like, whoa. But Eddie Guerrero was a shock. There's so many of them. I mean, Pat Patterson was entertaining. You kind of grew up watching him. So that was one. There's just so many that have gone from drugs and stuff like that. That's always a shame. Chris Canyon, do you remember him?
a little bit, yes.
He was like one of the first openly gay wrestlers, and Vince had him come out of a closet in the middle of the ring as part of his gimmick for a while. And everybody said he was a great guy and had such a great wrestling mind. And then for him to commit suicide and just kind of waste all that talent over being ridiculed through his workplace and stuff like that. That one's one that kind of soured in my stomach, is, you know what I mean? Is the guy couldn't help who he was, yet they did that to him to be funny. He was more of a joke, So the biggest push he ever got was to be a joke in the middle of the ring for who he
That's
was. So
sad.
that one always bothered me too. Like, part of me is like, that's on Vince McMahon. I mean, I know the guy probably had other problems and stuff, but I know, like, in that atmosphere, there is a lot of bullying on the employees through Vince McMahon's sense of humor. And that's one that really kind of set in my stomach as being like sickening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, I think it was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, that affected me the most. He was one of my favorites too.
See, like, I was entertained by Dusty, but I never got the Dusty. But the only Dusty I really got to watch till I was younger was the black polka dots chubby guy in the WWF. Still was it, you know, when you're comparing them to like Hogan and Warrior and all those muscle guys, Undertaker, and then you got Dusty. Then was in that outfit. It just always reminded me of my grandma's swimsuit that he was walking around in with his hair the way it was. It just always reminded me of grandma. So I don't know. I never got the whole Dusty thing.
Yeah, Roddy Piper was another one that hit me pretty hard.
Yeah. See, I never got the Roddy thing. The ones that I watched go on, like, of course, the Benoit one thing, I just found it so hard to believe. That one got me and how it went.
Yeah,
That one kind
Benoit.
of got to me.
Yeah, Benoit was very shocking. I was really surprised to find out he did that, and I immediately started disliking him when I found out what he did.
Yeah. I thought for sure it had to have been like a robbery gone bad or whatever, but as more details came out, it was just like, you know, because like Nancy, I remember watching her when she was very in the very beginnings in WCW, and you know, like the whole woman and the weird, you know, when she was with Sullivan was kind of weird, but then, you know, she was always entertaining and she put on a good show, and then that's another one that probably should be in the um, Hall of Fame, but they don't want to bring her in with and bring attention to the what happened with, you know what I mean?
True.
Because she was probably one of the first diva trendsetters that I remember, and she was able to work and do a lot. You know what I mean? Did Sherry Martel
That's
ever get
true.
in?
Who?
Sherry Martel, Sensational Sherry.
Oh no, I don't think she got in yet. Maybe she has. I don't remember.
She's one that needs to be in there as well.
I agree.
But
Also, China.
there's so many great entertainers over here that just it's hard to fit them all in. You know, like one of the ones that I know most people don't, but I always found George the Animal Steel hilarious and like kind of, you know, he was a comedy wrestler, but you could be scared of him. And the funny thing
Yeah, he
was, he
was
was
good.
actually a teacher. He always told stories about whenever people, like the kids would see him and they tell him he looks like George the Animal Steel on wrestling. He goes, I don't know who that is.
That's funny.
Andre entertaining and impressive just because I saw him one time in St. Louis and even just walking down the aisle and I was a little kid way up on top, but he was still like, he just towered over everybody else. Just the size of the man was impressive. And then I believe it was Big Show, was the giant assassin. He was in our area for a while for college. And he had come to our school and he was such a giant man and stuff like that. And everybody was so enthralled with him, they went and got his autographed. He was like signing stuff everywhere because he was such a big wrestler, like in the gym, the high school gym or something.
Nice. Yeah, I like Big Show. He's a pretty cool wrestler.
Yeah, he's entertaining too, as the person behind who it is. The Rock was always one of my favorites. He was always entertaining.
Yeah, The Rock is great. He's a mega $1 million superstar now in entertainment, movies, and now wrestling.
Yep. That he is. It's amazing what his push got him, and he was able to move it on.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about tonight?
I think we're good for this one. Maybe we'll come up with some more another time.
Absolutely. I'd love to do another interview with you. I had fun chatting wrestling with you tonight.
I know. It's not over text this time, so I had a blast with it. It's good visiting with you, Alex.
I agree. We'll definitely do it again. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed every bit of it.
Not a problem. I also want to thank all the viewers for watching my very first Pro Wrestling 101 video podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and make sure to subscribe to my channel, the legendary Alex Cardinale, for more wrestling videos and all my other YouTube videos. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.